Welcome to the Dementialand Serial Podcast, a story for everyone who knows someone living in or near Dementialand. My name is Suzka, and this is my story. I visited my mother for Thanksgiving, 3 weeks before I got that call. I remember it like it was yesterday, but did I miss seeing something? How sick was my mother? My flight landed at O'Hare in the middle of the night. JD picked me up and drove me to my mom's house. It was my 4th visit that year. I'd been genuinely worried about my mother. All year she was acting strange, stranger than normal. But in particular, 3 weeks ago, I remember opening the front door and standing there in the entry, motionless. I was overwhelmed by the commotion. Even though it was the middle of the night, it was day bright in the house and loud. I brushed the snow off my head, and legs slammed the door behind me. The heat suffocated my face at first. My eyes felt squeezed and sucked in. Loud sounds, busy in various conversations, overtalked each other from another room. A loud radio voice was babbling about traffic, while the TV, in full volume, was talking about murder. Madlock, my mother's favorite show. An old boombox accompanied the chaos with gypsy music. Every inch of air had a sound. It was as if all the noises were tripping over each other, demanding my hearing attention. I moved slowly. My purse strap slid off my shoulder. I brushed the outside off my coat and leaned against the wall for balance while I slipped off my Uggs. Looking up at the landing, I saw my mother just standing there. She was wearing a chenille robe and a glorious pair of Valentino turquoise pumps. Her hair was pinned and pressed down in parts like a pancake. At the top of her head, a heavy blue hairnet sat on one side, almost looking like a beret. It made her look French in a goofy way. As I looked more closely, I noticed that under her robe, she was completely dressed in what looked like church clothes. A flowered apron, loosely tied around her waist, kept everything together. My mother dangled a small plastic bag over the railing, a Ziploc filled with silver-wrapped candies, hard candies with chocolate and mint inside. The candy was intended as a gift for JD, or anyone who drove me from the airport. My mother was rather loose with her candy giveaways. She gave further instructions with her hands. Flour and breadcrumbs that were stuck to the tips of her fingers twirled themselves in the air with a sense of fanciful urgency. I let this strange lady lead the way, and I never questioned her fashion style. I wasn't quite sure where she was going to take me during this visit or where she put my real mother, but I kept myself open. I followed her into the kitchen. The cooped-up odors of onions, cabbage, and olive oil welcomed me home. On the counter was a radio with oversized knobs. It kept my mother company, kept her informed. The radio voice would tell her of her locations of all the backed-up traffic jams and accidents in Chicago. When she wasn't home, the voice would talk to prospective burglars outside the house and tell them not to come in. The room was cooking warm and disheveled. I looked for some place to plop my purse. The counter was cluttered with thick-rimmed bowls filled with half-mixed ingredients. Flour and powdered sugar dusted the counter from one end to the other. The crushed nuts, cabbage slivers, and poppy seeds found themselves in each other's mix.
The pharmacist lady at Walgreens, her name's Evelyn something or another. She's always so nice to me. Well, her husband's going to die this week, so I'm baking 2 trays of cookies for the wake. A plate of cabbage horns, and then some baby hamburgers. You know, the small ones that you can just pick up with your fingers easy like. It won't interrupt any of their grieving.
Mom, what are you talking about? Who is Evelyn? How do you know her husband's going to die? Do you even know these people? Do you even know what the dying person looks like?
No, I never met the man personally, not face to face. I'll meet him at the wake. It's going to be a 2-day wake for sure. I think he's an important man. Do you remember Emil's wake and his funeral? Maybe you already moved to California when he died. He had 57 cars in his funeral procession. 57, mind you.
She got chills talking about such processional events. The number of cars in one's funeral procession affirmed the dead person's importance and how much he was loved. My mom moved closer to me as I was reaching far back into the fridge for the beer on the lower shelf.
I hope when I die I have 58. You have to promise me, Suzka, that there will be at least 58 plus 1.
You know, I was actually relieved. This is the woman I know, trying to outcar some poor dead guy. Yup, she's going to be okay.
Your father only had 17, but he had a bad attitude. You can't expect many cars at your funeral when you have a bad attitude.
I pulled out the bottle of Stella and a juicy lemon. Mom, could you please shut that damn radio off?
You have to come with me to the wake. You might meet someone.
Seriously? I don't think so, Mom.
Well, you aren't going to meet a nice man when you're continuously hanging around with those artist folks.
I walked around the room looking for a place to sit. The table was cluttered with papers, magazines, and donation envelopes. I made my way to the couch. About 4 feet in front of me was a large old Sony television set, where Madlock was trying to convince me of his client's innocence. I remember years ago my mother standing in front of the television, singing the national anthem that was played at the end of the broadcasting day. They stopped playing the anthem in 1974. But in my previous visits, I noticed my mother resuscitated this patriotic ritual. She would sing the anthem after the Madlock late-night reruns.
Please rise for the playing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can we see by the dawn's early light was so proudly we hailed.
I moved a couple things around to get comfortable. Madlock had to go. I looked over for the remote. My hand scanned under the couch's pillows. My mom rushed nervously over to the couch.
I'll get it. Wait a minute. Don't move anything.
Under 2 pillows and tucked deep into the side's cushion, she had dug out the remote. But why did you hide the remote?
Well, I didn't want to say anything, but people have been stealing from me. I've got to be careful.
But who? You live alone, Mom.
Oh, never you mind.
She held onto the remote with both hands and pointed it directly in the line of Ben Madlock. She pressed down on the buttons hard, but Ben talked louder. She pushed more buttons until Madlock listened and lowered his volume.
There, is that better for you? Now, don't touch anything. I like Ben Metlife. He's my favorite, and I don't want to lose him. So don't touch any of those buttons on the remote.
Untrusting of my attentions, she put the remote in her apron pocket. Mom, it's Madlock. Ben Madlock, not Metlife. I replayed that night a million times over in my head. Did I miss something? How sick was my mother? Well, in the next few episodes, you'll find out. All I know is she wasn't quite the mother I remembered. And between you and me, I think I like this one a little better, but don't tell her. Till we meet again, au revoir.